Welcome to Mind Body Monday, and thank you all for joining. In today's session, we're going to explore why women are about 2.5 times more likely to suffer from IBS than men. And I'm going to share with you my 3 levels and 3 rituals process for self-care. Whether a person has any digestive issue or any health issue or just feels great and wants to feel even better, then the 3 levels and 3 rituals is a great way to do that. So permit me, please, just for a few minutes to go on a little rant, because there is a topic, a subject that is quite close to my heart. And it goes something like this. If you are a woman or know one, or even came from one, then this session is for you. I think it's so important to remind ourselves of a basic teaching from our sages, that all blessing, all sustenance, all goodness, all holiness, all come through women. Women are the conduit, the pipeline for all blessing in the world. And for those men who are here live or watching the replay, let's just face it for a moment. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for women. Therefore, ladies, there's an invitation here to cherish yourself, to acknowledge yourself, and to take care of yourself. In my practice, most women who consult with me are spent, overwhelmed, and out of sorts by the time they come to me. And I always remind them of this, what I call the aeroplane analogy. And for those of you who have heard it, perhaps listen and learn something fresh here. Because we all know flights around the world have a safety procedure. And if there's a drop in cabin pressure, the instruction is to pull your mask and put it on your face first. Put it on your face first over the infant or baby or young child that may be nearby. Simply because if you don't take care of yourself first, there'll be no one to take care of the kids or anybody else who's not in a position to take care of themselves. Now, this is not an act of selfishness or egocentricity or hedonism, putting your needs above everybody else's, because your needs are important, your needs are 100% legit, and your needs should not be relegated to the bottom of the totem pole, but really at the tippy top, because all goodness and everything that the world has is because of women. And their nature is to give. Your nature is to give. And very often, your own needs aren't get met. And this is one of my pet topics, pet rants, that I really want to remind women of their true position and to share some strategies, which I'll be doing towards the end of this Mind Body Monday, in terms of how to really take the motto that we're working with, self-care is the heart of healthcare, to heart with some really practical steps. And I'm prefacing this Mind Body Monday session because I'd say most of the gut issues, be it IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which I'll get into in a little bit, are very much rooted, and all healing is contingent on putting your needs on the map, making yourself count in order to feel whole, to feel well, and as a result of that, feeling fantastic. You're in a better position to serve, which is really what we are all about. Just before I share, so that was my rant. And I just needed to sort of get that off my chest at the opening, because This is the pattern, as I said, I see specifically with gut issues in my clinic, but really, truth is autoimmune conditions or asthma or any other issue as well. Let me just, for those of you who are new, before I share a story from my practice, I just want to welcome you. My name is Avraham Gundle. I'm the director and founder for the Center for Integrated Medicine. I'm trained as an osteopath, and I practice functional and integrated medicine. And over the last 30 years, I've been privileged to have helped many, many people heal, go into remission, and recover fully from a whole host of chronic health conditions, be it autoimmune issues, gut issues, skin problems, thyroid issues, etc. So this is actually Mind Body Monday is born really from my mission to empower people, empower the public really to take their health to the next level so they can live a fulfilling, joyous life in the service of others, really. And the analogy that I share is really most people, by the time they come to me, they're already far gone or progressed in an illness situation. And it's almost like I'm fishing people out of the water while they're half drowned. So Mind Body Monday is really about me going upstream and getting to the bridge or the embankment before they sort of fall in or jump into that flowing tide, flowing stream. So this way, people don't land up in my office and are empowered to put into practice very often simple steps that will prevent illness and obviously cure and restore health and vitality. So let me go back and just share a story from my practice. One of my first patients when I first opened up my clinic here in Israel was a 48-year-old woman who came to see me from IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. The majority of the foods she ate would either cause her stomach pain or cramping, urgent bathroom visits, etc. And most of her gut symptoms kept her at home, and as a result of needing the loo frequently, and as you can imagine, she didn't have much of a social life. Her situation was made worse by the tremendous stress that she was under at the time when she came to see me. So this is already hinting to that mind-body connection, because every thought, feeling, and action that we experience, our gut and brain are hardwired through that vagus nerve. So everything we think or feel or experience, taste, touch, etc., is immediately picked up, and a reaction occurs in the gut for the good or the not so good. So several months after she, this woman had been, as you can imagine, to many specialists, was on a whole slew of medication, which really didn't make her situation better. So she came to see me, and after several months of being on my Heal Your Gut program, she rang me and said, "Avraham, guess where I am?" So I said, "I don't know. Where are you?" And she actually called me from the communal garden of her apartment building. She loved taking care of the geraniums which was her responsibility. She was the head of the garden and looking after public properties in the shared properties, communal properties rather, in her apartment building. And she wasn't able to really go down and tend to the garden very well because of her situation. She said to me, "Avraham, I'm in the gardens pruning the geraniums." And I was so happy to hear that she was healing and exploring freedom and doing the things she loved. And this was a major accomplishment for her. And a few weeks later, she called me again, and I got another opportunity to play the guessing game. So she rang me up and said, "Avraham, guess where I am?" The garden pruning the geraniums? She said, "Nope." She's in the mall. She said, "I'm in the mall out with friends shopping." So this woman actually got her life back by taking the small, consistent steps that Mind Body Monday teaches and the Gut Healing Program teaches. And this way, it's not rocket science, but there is a system to it And it really is healing gut issues is really about an integration of mind, body, and spirit. And that's one of the reasons I focus on the gut, because it's so representative of the whole person. In fact, in the Hebrew language, the word panim, face, and the word pnim, our innards, are the same letters. So in the Hebrew language, represents and demonstrates this connection between our inner world, physically, mentally, and emotionally, spiritually, and the outer world as well. So let's take one step back, and maybe there's a good time to all take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just drop your shoulders down, feel your back against the back of the chair, and listen in a way, and even if you want to take notes, in a way as if you want to teach this to somebody else, to teach one idea or two ideas to someone else. Because this way, the science has shown that when you learn in a way with an intention to share it or teach it, you take it on a deeper level. So what is IBS? IBS stands for irritable bowel syndrome. It's a functional disorder of the intestines, of the gut. And it involves basically two things, something called motility, movement of food through the gut, digestive system, and sensitivity of how the brain interprets signals between the gut and the brain. So this condition leads to abdominal pain, changes in bowel habit, and many other symptoms. I'm not going to go into all the details now, although I will make some key distinctions in a minute. Although often very disruptive, this really possibly debilitating or embarrassing condition, as you saw in the case that I worked with in my practice, it's not life-threatening. And I tell my patients this because if there's any way to alleviate concern or worry, to know that this is a disruptive condition, but it's not life-threatening, and it doesn't lay the foundation. Research has shown it doesn't lay the foundation for other more sinister issues like cancer or other serious illnesses, but it certainly is disruptive. Now you notice in my definition, I said IBS is a functional gut disorder. Well, what does functional actually mean? Functional means that the intestines are they're not working the way they should be. And more importantly, there's no visible abnormalities that can be observed in any test. There's no test that will, an ultrasound or a barium enema or any other test that will demonstrate that, yes, this patient has IBS. It's a functional disturbance. There are no tears, there's no polyps, there's no obstructions, there's no sores, there's no ulcers. So it's a little bit of a gray zone. And the diagnosis is often a diagnosis of exclusion, what it's not. And therefore, it's called IBS syndrome, because there's a picture of a bunch of things and elements that make for a clearer diagnosis. So some of the more debilitating symptoms of IBS are, as mentioned, abdominal pain, chronic and severe bloating, and abnormal bowel patterns. With that being said, there's really three classifications. And after this, I'm going to go into a little bit more of practical info for you. There's IBS-D, IBS-C, and IBS-M. Now, what's the C, what's the D, and what's the M? The C stands for constipation. The IBS manifests as more constipation. Then there's the D, which is diarrhea, where this patient is having more diarrhea symptoms. And then the IBM-M, as you can guess, is mixed, right? Very scientific, very medical, mixed with both a combination of diarrhea and constipation occurring. So according to the American College of Gastroenterologists, an estimated 10 to 15% of US adults suffer from IBS. But what intrigues me is why are women about 2.5 times more likely to suffer from IBS than men? What's that really all about? And I think I alluded to this in my rant, that part of this is women being so focused on family in general than men are. And as a result, their self-care and needs are not positioned where they really need to be. So there are a number of reasons for why women have about 2.5 times more some IBS symptoms than men. Now, let's look at just one of those, for example. Even though the research isn't conclusive, hormones do seem to play a role, specifically female hormones, because research has shown that high levels of estrogen and progesterone impact stress in the body, and more importantly, gut motility. That's the movement of peristalsis, the movement of food through the gut. In fact, it slows it down. How's that? How does that happen? What's the mechanism? Because estrogen, progesterone slow down or obstruct smooth muscle contraction. What that means is the lining of our gut and intestine is lined with what's called smooth muscle cells. And when there are high levels of estrogen and progesterone, these smooth muscle cells slow down. So everything in the gut works less efficiently. Food tends to get digested less efficiently, gets to hang around longer, which leads to challenges in the gut, and things slow down. As a result of this, there's it's a bit of a gross way of saying it, but there's really a going off of food substances, so to speak, in the gut. It's a warm, dark, moist place, and it's almost like, I mean, our gut is the sewage system. Just imagine if the sewage system in a city backs up. So anyone who's experiencing poor gut motility is going to experience a putrefaction of gut contents, not necessarily in IBS, but anybody who's got a slow gut. And this is why it's so important to make sure that we are having regular bowel movements, at least 1 to 3 normal bowel motions a day. So that's sort of the hormonal piece. In fact, some women come to me specifically because when they have their menstrual cycle, their IBS symptoms become worse and they're reaching out for help. What can they do, 10 days a month, every month, to mitigate, to soften, to ameliorate some of their symptoms? And there are many, many simple strategies. And so that is just good to know that that the hormones play a role, and there's what to do about it as well. There's another interesting piece here about why women tend to suffer more from this particular condition. That's what I'm going to call sort of gender roles. Within society, there are ingrained expectations in general of men and women's roles, and research has shown how this can influence IBS symptoms and how they show up and how people behave in terms of getting self-care, going to see a professional, a doctor, an internist, etc., or a functional medicine practitioner to sort out the issues. For example, women in Western countries are socialized to worry more about body image and slimness than men in general, which can often translate into higher anxiety levels regarding symptoms like bloating. I have a woman who comes to me, a patient who, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, her belly is like a balloon, and she feels very, very uncomfortable with something about her eating pattern over the weekend really bothers her. So she's very much aware of her belly and how it looks in public and what she can do about it. So there's that whole gender role and Western society piece. But let's go a little bit deeper. I'm coming back to I don't want to say mantra, but I want to come back to the slogan really of self-care being at the heart of healthcare, because the mind and body are one system, and the gut and the brain are one system. We are body, mind, soul. It's just one entity. So everything we experience on any level will affect every other level. So that's going to really bring us to this 3 levels, 3 rituals of self-care. So this is a a tool that I've created that gives structure to the self-care piece. So for those of you who are already doing some self-care in your daily life, this perhaps will bring more intention and more awareness to maintain it and also to expand it. And for those of you who are not yet consistent with self-care, this will perhaps be an invitation to and give you some structure to be able to do that. So let's look at each. There's the 3 levels. That is the physical, emotional, and spiritual level of self-care. And then there are the 3 rituals, which is the daily, weekly, and monthly. Now, obviously, you can play with this structure, but this is something I created. That's a framework in which the self-care can take place within. So let's look at each one of these. On the physical level, there's the breathing, there's hydration, there's nutrient-dense eating, movement, exercise, and sleep. Those are sort of the big chunks. And it's really important to make sure you cover each of those in your, that each one of these levels are sort of have a touch point. In the physical level, that you're conscious of taking slow, deep breaths every day. In my practice, I teach my patients about the morning and the evening, sort of the envelopes of the day. Before you go to sleep at night, you're just taking 3 slow, deep breaths. That helps oxygenate your brain, relax your body, calm your mind, release the day, the busyness from the day, and give you and allow you a deeper REM restorative sleep. And then again, when you wake up in the morning, to greet the day with these 3 slow, deep breaths. And then if you want to add it in any other time in the day, if you're caught in traffic or waiting in a line or feeling anxious or feeling overwhelmed, that will be another time just to bring in the breath, because the oxygenation really settles us down. So that's sort of that's the breathing piece. And then there's hydration, to make sure you get in your ½ ounce to 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight every day. So on average, it could be if you're 70 kilograms, let's say, that could be about 2.5 liters of water a day spread out through the day. Best way to do that is just to have a dedicated bottle of water. And by lunchtime, you get through 1, and by dinner time, you get through another, and add in some through the day as well. Hydration is so important to relax the gut. It's, as I said, it's almost like a sewage system, and hydration will help to move things along. It also clears the mind, focuses the brain as well. On the water piece, but a lot of women come to see me when they have gut issues, just feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. And when they say they're fatigued and they don't have energy. And when I think of energy, I just think of electricity. These relate to the mitochondria in the body, the little cells in it. We have hundreds of these mitochondria, which are little powerhouses in every cell of our body. And proper hydration charges them up. So it's so important to get that water in, not only for the gut and not only for your brain to give you the focus and the clarity the brain needs to work and the gut needs for proper motility, but also for energy of every single cell in the body. Because water is the universal solvent, flushes the body, detoxes the body, but also charges the body with energy. All these basic things accumulate and positively stack in our health and well-being rituals, which we'll get to. So that's really part of the physical. I spoke about breathing. We spoke about hydration, nutrient-dense eating, at least 2 to 3 times a day. Make sure you have a bowl of plant-based whole foods, salads, fresh salads, nutrient-dense, lots of leafy greens, whole grains, things like that, that are rich in the key nutrients the body needs to feed the microbiome, to feed the gut, and to energize the body and allow for good healing in the body. So nutrient-dense eating, make sure your meals are power-packed with the nutrients that the body needs. Then there's exercise, and this is just a really simple thing. Put on your walking shoes or just your regular shoes and walk for 20 minutes to half an hour, 3 to 5 times a week, or do whatever exercise you want that dials you in. If you're not actively moving your body every day in formal exercise, at least 3 times a week, then this is the invitation. The research is absolutely conclusive that just 20 minutes to half an hour, 3 days a week will add literally years to a person's life. It boosts the mood, it helps sleep, it helps regulate everything in the body. It's simple, it's often free, and it's in the reach of most people. So, and the last piece on the physical level really is sleep. To make sure we get in our 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I actually wear a sleep tracker ring on my finger before I go to sleep, and it tracks all my sleep metrics like REM sleep, my heart rate, different brainwave patterns. And this gives me a deeper dive into how I can use and leverage quality sleep, so which will allow for all healing that the body needs to be done, but also to keep peak focus, good gut health, and well-being. So that's really the physical piece. So the 3 levels, that's the physical level. Let's all take a nice deep breath in. As you breathe out, relax your shoulders. And if you need to hydrate, this would be a good time to do that. Let's look at the emotional level. I just want to read something to you for a moment. This was written by a very great man who was well ahead of his time. Unfortunately, he perished in the Warsaw Ghetto. His name was the Aish Kodesh, the Princess Nerevisal. And he writes the following: the soul of a person loves to feel. It yearns not only for feelings of happiness, but even for feelings of melancholy and tearful feelings. A person will often listen to horror stories and watch violent or horrifying scenes, which actually could bring them to tears, just so they will be able to feel. Just my insert for a moment. This watching horrifying scenes does not only mean in front of the computer or movie or whatnot, but the scenes that we make in our own mind. We are often our own worst enemy. And it's so important to take control of your mind, because your mind has a mind of its own. And unless we are conscious about the images and mind movies we make, our mind will pull us down into anxiety and depression. The mind is like Velcro to negativity and Teflon to all the positive stuff. There are lots of reasons why we are wired like that. The mind is wired for safety and security and not for joy and fulfillment. That's for us to cultivate. I do go into this a lot more in my inner circle, but just for now, just know that that the mind is a key component for living a fulfilled, joyous life, and a life that's conducive to healing and well-being. So coming back to this quote, emotion, he says, is the food of the soul, in as much as food is to the body, emotions are food for the soul. So this really puts into perspective the need to take care on the second level, take care of our emotional world. And therefore, it's so important to feed ourselves emotionally and in a wise, intentional and conscious way. And it can be just really simple, like asking yourself the question, how am I feeling? So go ahead, just type in the chat. How are you feeling? How are you feeling right now? Take a nice deep breath in. Breathing out. And as you do that, type in the chat, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling right now? And as you're typing in the chat, how are you feeling right now? You can even get an emoji if you want. You sort of close your eyes, take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, ask yourself if an emoji or an image would appear in my mind. The mind thinks in pictures often. What would best represent how you're feeling right now? And just type that in the chat. Excellent. Excellent. So perhaps as I get some feedback from you, we can do a mini process to do a check-in in terms of getting a real sense of how you are feeling now. In fact, why don't we just do that? If you are watching a replay and driving, this is not a good idea to do this, bookmark it and come back. But if you're able to do this gentle check-in process with me, then, and if you can close your eyes, that will be a good practice to do, because what it does, it brings your awareness internally and your focus internally, and will help to give you the feedback for this process. So let's spend a minute or two doing this, because this is about self-care being the heart of healthcare, and this is a quick emotional check-in. So if you're comfortable, you can just take another nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, allow your eyes to softly close, relax your shoulders down, feel your back against the back of the chair, and take another nice deep cleansing breath in. And as you breathe out, relax your belly, relax your chest. Let your breathing settle down to rhythm and pace that's natural and comfortable for you. And just bring your awareness inside. Bring your awareness to your heart area, your chest area, often the seat of emotions. And if you want, you can place a hand softly over your chest. Just feel your warmth of your hand on your chest for a moment. Sense into the soft rise and fall of your chest with your breath. And then if you can ask yourself the question, how am I feeling right now? Staying open, because it may not be what you think with your head. This is a more sense-feeling process. And if you can get an emoji or an image or picture that will best depict how are you feeling right now, what would that be? And suspend any judgments about how you're feeling. Or notice if there are any judgments, and just put them to the side and just get the data, the facts. How are you feeling? And if you have an image or an emoji or even a word to describe how you're feeling now, you can just softly open your eyes, come back to the Zoom, and just type that in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. What was that process like for you? What did you notice? Super. Super, very good. Go ahead, type in the chat. What do you notice? So the check-in process is a very simple process. The full check-in is done on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. Today we just dipped into the emotional piece. And it's really a self-regulating tool, because it's almost like, you know, when there's certain roads that they have a little emoji. If you're going too fast, it gives you that feedback, like an angry face or a sad emoji face. And if you're going the right speed, it gives you a smiley or a thumbs up. So that feedback gives the driver the feedback, and he course or she course corrects, slows down, etc. So too, when we check in with ourselves on any level, physical, emotional, spiritual, like the emotional check-in we just did, the body gives itself feedback and is able, even on an unconscious level, to begin to self-correct, to course adjust, to help us get our buoyancy back or maintain what we have or make the corrections needed. Well done, well done. And on the emotional level, and another process that is such a helpful tool to do is to smile. Research has shown that even if people are not happy and they just, let's say, take a pen or a pencil and just do this, right? Force this smile movement, there are immediate changes in the brain that can be detected there are increased levels of happy hormones, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. These give us a lift. So even if you're feeling down or not in the mood, just, as I say, fake it until you make it. It's biologically and neurochemically wired. Our bodies are wired to actually pull us up if we use these processes. So just smiling, or even smiling in a mirror, in the morning and waking up and doing your bathroom ritual and the teeth, etc. You can smile to yourself, and that will give you that lift and that hormonal push of those happy hormones and set you up for a more positive, healthier day. So these are some of emotional tools to help the daily practice of self-care. Also reaching out to friends. So much research about the importance of a healthy social life for emotional well-being. One of the things I practice and encourage very much in my clinic is a gratitude journal. Just, it could be writing one phrase or one sentence, or if you have a couple of minutes, just write down the things that you are grateful for. And they don't need to be huge things, just small items. Your body's not in pain, things are working well, you can breathe, you have a family, whatever your situation is, to write those down, and that fuels us and again sets our mind up to look for the good and those grateful moments to journal about it the next day. So let's all take another nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, listen once again as if you're going to be teaching somebody what you're learning and discovering here today. That way you'll be able to be more focused and present to take it in on a deeper level. So we've looked at the physical level, we've looked at the emotional level. Let's look at the third of these levels, the spiritual level. And this is so important to help us feel connected to something bigger than ourselves, to something higher than ourselves. And if you were to ask yourself the question, what will fill me up spiritually today? How can you deepen your relationship with your Creator today or now? What do you need to do by just asking yourself the question, how can I feel more connected to Hashem today or now? And just allow for a rising up from within, an intuitive sense of what you may need to do. Because it's so important to feel and make tangible that connection in our bodies, not only intellectually, because the process to take intellectual knowledge and embody it in our bodies and our hearts. So that was the three levels: the physical level and its sub-items, the emotional level, and the spiritual level. Let's take a quick look at the three rituals. Once again, this is a framework I've created so you can plug your self-care ritual and your self-care practices into this framework and give it some more structure. So really, self-care rituals are a way to show love and care and appreciation for yourself. We often, in fact, we're wired to do more for other people than we would do for ourselves. There are reasons for that. So part of the three rituals is to turn that lens around, to cultivate the three rituals to ourselves first or in addition. And this is not a selfish act. This is an act like that airplane analogy of taking your oxygen mask first so you can be in the best state of body, mind, and soul to be of service to whoever it is you're going to serve. So let's look at the three rituals. There's the daily ritual, the weekly ritual, and the monthly ritual. And feel free just to play with these ideas and even make a 3-monthly ritual or a yearly ritual, whatever it happens to be. So the easiest way to become a pro at self-care is to put intention behind something you are already doing every day. So it's not necessarily looking for something new, although that can be an option. But if you're already doing some self-care ritual, It could be as simple as brushing your teeth, to take your time, appreciate your teeth, flossing, rinsing, whatever it happens to be. Or it could be just making yourself a nice cup of coffee or a herbal tea or a smoothie and just sitting, taking time, breathing, and enjoying that with some quiet reflection. That is a daily ritual, whatever that happens to be for you. For me, part of that is my first glass of water in the morning. In fact, it's more like a liter of water in the morning, just to get the electricity going in my body, flush and cleanse my body out, charge my focus and my brain in the day. So those are some ideas about daily rituals. Let's look at some weekly rituals. So I recommend that once a person has some daily rituals, it could be one or a bunch of them, it could be one done in the morning, sort of before the day crowds our life and we kind of scramble possibly. But if you have more time, it could be in the afternoon or early evening. The timing is up to you. But the weekly ritual is building on the daily ritual. Once you have that in your week, then it's a good time to, once you have that in your day rather, it's a good time to build on that and bring in a weekly ritual. So one of my patients, I asked, what would be a good self-care ritual for you? Because everyone is different and what's good for me may not be good for you. And there's a self-inquiry to see what helps you to feel at your best. And she said, there's nothing more I'd love than to take a 45-minute walk with my husband, and if he's not available, with one of the kids or with a dog or on my own in nature. 45-minute nature walk that will really fill me up, that will really help me connect to myself, to nature, to the creator, and set me up for my week. So she started doing that. And some weeks she was able to do it, some weeks she wasn't, but over time she became more dedicated and made sure she got it on the map. And this way she'll fill herself up with the weekly ritual. Let's all take another nice deep breath in. Breathing out. And let's look at the last monthly ritual. So if you have a daily ritual in place, a weekly ritual in place, and a monthly ritual. What I do literally is I put these in my diary, on my phone, on a repeat, and it pings to remind me as part of my life schedule, my daily, weekly, or monthly. So it's not really in my mind, it's rather it's scheduled, and I get a reminder with half an hour before or 10 minutes before, and then I'm able to course correct and put that in my day. So I asked another patient of mine, this happens to be a woman with gut issues, and I said to her, if you were to fill yourself up once a month, now that you've got your daily and your weekly rituals in place, what would that be? What would you do? So she said, absolutely. Once a month, if I could, I would either I'd have a spa day. I would get a massage or a facial and my nails done and or take a friend out, go out with a friend for lunch. Whatever happens to be, but each person will decide on themselves what monthly ritual they can do to solidify their self-care piece. Wonderful. So I'm extending an invitation to all of you, not only the women, but especially the women, because of my rant in the beginning, but also to men, everybody, to bring into your life the 3 levels and the 3 rituals. Do something for yourself every day on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level, and on a daily, weekly, or monthly level. And remember, just keep it simple. As Nike says, just make a start. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Progress, not perfection. Make a start. And it could be as simple as just drinking an extra glass of water. Because guess what? If you drink 1 extra glass of water a day, let's do the math. After a week, you've had 7 extra glasses of water. After a month, you've had about 30. And after a year, you've had about 364, or whatever it happens to be. So this is how things tend to accumulate. Stack the positive so you can feel at your best, heal the gut, focus and supercharge your mind, your spiritual connection, and your emotions. Good luck. I just want to end by thanking you all once again for joining me on this week's Mind Body Monday. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Just remember, self-care is the heart of healthcare. Take one small step to enhance your health in mind, body, and spirit. See you next week.